Vin.
I'm sorry.
If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option. As Sori says, $125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. $125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and you get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at villageXchange@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in a Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch. Buy our merch.
Buy our merch indeed. A child shall lead them.
We are on the 7 Dusted stream. The next song on our robust list is Virgos Merlot.
Yep.
Disregarding.
Yeah, Tristan, actually a lot of people have done band reviews. Actually, we got a couple of them coming up real quick. If you would like to get your band reviewed, your local band, or you're the manager, or you're the AR guy or girl for the local band, that's a $300. Send it to us at vinandSorimerch@gmail.com, and we will promote your band.
When you send the payment, you can put a little note in it that says what your band is and give us all your information there.
You cannot buy a positive review for us. So we had a couple guys one time that their songs were, it was underproduced. Mm-hmm. So we couldn't lie about it, but it was valuable feedback, and so it is what it is, y'all.
I think the lowest score we've given a local band was a 2. So it has happened, yeah.
Yeah, they never came back to us, but that's okay. That's okay. I understand it. I understand. I'm not mad. Okay, Virgos Merlot. The name of the song is Disregarding. Disregarding is the name of the song. Let's go. I would have never thought that.
Someone should have told me when I was younger, life was only learning how to lose. And now I'm older, so much stronger, and I only feel I'm being abused. Now my hands move slower and slower in pain. And oh, my mind's going over and over. My God, my soul is dead. It's ringing in my head.
Whoa.
Disregarding what you said. Fall farther down instead. My God, my soul is dead.
Baseline is hard, bro.
I hold my hands out, only hoping for what I truly deserve. I draw back nothing, only a promise, and I don't
that, again, 7 hit again. Holy smokes.
I really liked this one. The person certainly sounds depressed. And just very discouraged. Someone should have told me when I was younger, life was only learning how to lose. Although, I think that would probably be something that that I would do well to learn from. I don't like failures. Maybe if I would learn to tuck and roll, it'd be easier.
I was listening to Rick Ross. He said, in order to be a boss, you have to learn how to lose. I think that's one of the benefits of taking part in team sports as a kid.
I was literally thinking that.
Taking part in team sports as a kid, even above like one-on-one stuff. Like, so for example, when I was in Taekwondo, we would do little local circuit tournaments, whatever. I was undefeated, but that was myself. But when you play on a team, there's so many things that are out of your control that, Wes Welker doesn't turn around in time. Eli beats him again. The guy catches a freaking thing on his helmet. And sports teaches you there's what you can do and how you can affect the outcome, but then you have to rely on other people. The real world is more of a team sport than it is a individual sport. And you watch how these people are.
Yeah.
People, you want to talk about arrogant. There's nothing more arrogant than a guy who is dominant in an individual sport. Whether it's UFC, I loved him. In my opinion, Silva is the greatest fighter of all time, period. Period. And at his heyday, he was just mocking dudes as he was fighting them. Like he would like put his hands down, which is like the cardinal sin. Like,
yeah.
I remember one time, like my
Not by your face.
my
Protect
sensei.
your face.
Yeah, my sensei. Shout out to Sensei Kim, traditional Taekwondo, Palm Bay, Florida. Check him. He's still out doing that shit
Like,
too.
what?
Yeah, on the trip I was gonna go visit him.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
But anyway, like I remember one time, like, we were sparring, whatever, and I had this hat. I used to put my hands down when I went to kick, because you're trying to get that torque, and he was showing me like how to roundhouse to keep your hands up. Well, I put my hands down, and like literally, it was at the beginning of the class, was an hour and a half, hour and 15 minutes. He made me do push-ups for the entire rest of the class.
What?
He put me out in the corner. And he said, how many times do I have to tell you about your hand? And he'd yell at me in front of class, in front of everybody, whatever. Because the better you were, the harder he was on you. How many times do I have to tell you to keep your hands up? And I thought he was going to do a slap drill with me or whatever. So I'm like, ready. I'm like, yeah, whatever. He's like, go. He's like, yeah, bah. So I'm push-ups. He's like, keep going. And he made me do push-ups for the rest of the freaking...
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
How many did you do?
It's
What, you just did as many as you could, then you take a break,
many
and
as
then
you
you
could,
start
muscle
back up
fail.
again?
You just muscle fail, and then this guy would come over and he'd sit there and let me rest, and then boom, right back, and for the rest of the class.
Oh my
It's
God.
horrible. So I never put my hands down after that. So I'm watching Anderson Silva, and he's just like smacking it. But it's because you're an individual, so you're like the master of your own destiny. You don't have to rely on anybody.
Yeah.
But team sports, it's so good for you because it shows you like you can be the best that you can do individually, but can you make the people around you better? And that's the difference between Kobe Bryant and LeBron James. That's why it's not even close in my opinion. Like Kobe, the last 4 or 5 years, he was surrounded with bums, and he would just judge them, and he wouldn't make them better. And he would wake up at 4 o'clock and do 3 a days. But if you showed up at the gym, he was just he was just so intimidating that he couldn't make anybody around him better. You just had to come already good. And it's the same thing with Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. Like, Tom just makes people better. He won his first 2 or 3 Super Bowls with no marquee receivers. He had freaking Troy Brown. Troy Brown. Like, nobody even knows who he is except for the New England faithful.
Yeah.
And like, so like when I'm looking at this song, he's like, that opening line hits like really hard. Obviously, it was like I wish somebody taught me how to lose. And I really, people talk about the whole participation trophy thing or whatever, and they make fun of it. It really concerns me. Because I'm like, that is not the world people are going to inherit. You don't get anything for participating. People have to learn to lose. And it's really interesting, like, and people are going to get in their feelings about this. I don't give a fuck if you haven't noticed. The whole January 6th thing. What was that? It was just a group of entitled bitches who could not lose. It's just certain people in this country have not been taught how to lose. The irony was that those are the same people that mock the participation trophy people.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, unless you've been, and again, people are going to say this is elitism, but unless you've been in team sports or in the military or other places where you get called to account and you have to rely on your teammates to accomplish a goal, and if you don't accomplish that goal, you're going to hear that shit. I'm very, 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 like my guys, whatever, like every single, all of us had played team sports, all of us. As a matter of fact, you had to get drafted. You basically had a little draft. You had to get drafted to get selected. And like, even if you, whatever, you still had to get drafted. And like our the big homie, he said he'd look at the file, and if you didn't have team sports, he wouldn't even look at you.
Wow.
So like, you have to learn how to lose.
Crazy.
You have to learn how to lose, because I mean, that's the same thing in relationships too. Like, you have to learn how to lose. Like, sometimes in relationships, like, you're in a fight with somebody and you have to say to yourself, okay, like, what is the benefit of winning this particular situation? You can win the battle and lose the war, in the sense of lose the relationship, or you can lose the battle and win the war. Or you can do a détente and say, look, we're not going to get this settled now. Let's wait till I'm more mature, you're more mature, and then we can re-engage the situation. But that line was just like really heavy to me. Because what's fascinating is when you learn how to lose at an early age, you don't come away with the feeling that life was only about learning how to lose. But if you're never taught to lose at an early age and you start losing as an adult, then you start thinking life is only about losing. That's the paradox of life. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. Like, look what he says. Now I'm older.
Yeah.
So much stronger, and I only feel I'm being abused. And it's because he was never taught to lose when he was younger. And so now that he's older and he's facing the exigencies of what real life looks like, whether it's, work or whatever it is, he can't function. And that's the thing that scares me. Like, I don't make fun of the participation trophy thing because I understand the spirit behind it. We went to Johan's swim meets and stuff, and Johan had never swum before in his life, and as competitive swimming, and he was on a team, and he was great cheering on his teammates and shit. He was horrible, and he somehow eked out But I remember having those talks with him after he got out of the pool. He looked back and he was in last place, and he was just crying. And I said, "What did you expect, little bro? Did you expect that you're just going to stroll in here?" I said, "Look, if you want it, let's grind, let's work, let's work out or whatever. You'll come back, you'll kick ass. But you didn't just think you were just going to stroll in here and just beat all these people." I think, you know what I think? I think it's because all the kids were white. I really felt like he felt like he's just going to jump in the water and his melanin was going to take him to the finish line.
I think, yeah.
Shout out to Brother Mr. Farrakhan.
I think the melanin, but also he really puts a lot of stock in that he's your son.
Yeah,
So
do
I think he thought, because he
still medaled out, by the way. And it wasn't a participation medal because he's the only one on the team that didn't get it. So he got that medal on heart. So, yeah, I mean, he's my son, obviously. But go ahead. What were you saying?
No, I was just agreeing with what you were saying. Yeah, it's interesting because for us growing up, we were not allowed to do sports. I'm still not completely clear as to why that is. I think my father was fearful that if we got into sports, that would be at a public school. They didn't allow us to go to public school, and so maybe they thought that we'd somehow get into trouble from. I don't really know. I really don't know. And then anytime that we did participate in something, it was at church. And honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, our church was stationed in Lewiston. And so it had a lot of like people from Lewiston that would go to the church. And so it's not like we were competing against our equals in a sense, because we were homeschooled. It was a strict regimen. Like everything was super strict for us.
Yeah.
And so we had certain advantages over everybody else just because of the rigid way that we were accustomed to living. So I'm not sure. I do know that when I was in kindergarten or first grade, we were at a private school. There was a kid that was dressed up as a duck, and they were supposed to sing their song. And the girl messed up, and then she cried and ran off the stage. And I remember my father saying how embarrassed he would be if we did something like that. And then he was saying that we have to, anytime that you start something, you need to finish it. Even if you mess up, he was like, if you mess up, just keep going. Like, don't stop. And then he was basically explaining, like, now she ran off the stage. She can't come back onto the stage. And so the only thing that night is going to have is a giant failure for her. So if she had just gone through with it, right, she would have essentially rode the horse again, and she would have been able to get over that fear. And then it would have been like one of those things that she could have looked back on and been like, you know what? I screwed up a bunch, but I finished. And so I remember that being taught, like, just finish what you start, even if it's not as beautiful as you want it to be. Like, finish it, and you can be proud of the fact that you finished. But as far as learning to lose, I don't think I was ever taught to lose, because I don't think that I really lost a lot. Mm-hmm. But you're saying in sports, you had to... You
have no choice.
Yeah, it's so weird, though, because you said that you guys would get in physical altercations and everything when there would be a loss.
Oh, yeah.
So, but that still is a better teaching.
The adults would come and guide us out of it. This is how you manage your emotions.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, of course. I mean, they didn't sit there and let us kill each other.
I thought you had one coach that kind of...
Oh, yeah. Our football coach, forget it. Our football coach was kind of like that evil dude from Cobra Kai. Shout out to... And he was like notorious. But it was like the early 90s, so football was still football. Mm-hmm. And you were expected to get hurt. Everybody expected to have a broken something. Oh my gosh. But yeah, aside from him. But baseball, yeah, we get in fights because we had everybody we were playing at baseball, we all went to school with. So it was absolute torment. If you lost, those guys are just coming, and our team was stacked. So if we lost, it was like people wanted to beat us so bad. And obviously, you know how I play sports, like or I play with anything. People want desperately to beat me.
Yes.
So
yeah, because you talk so much.
It was horrible. It was horrible. Like if we lost,
you have to win.
It was terrible. If we lost, it was terrible. So
Look, okay. First of all, I'm still gonna stick to the same thing that I've been saying, that you cheated on that game, bowling. But even if you're not cheating, he did. He totally did. He was miscounting, because it was one of those ones where you have to count them yourself and enter the number in. And him and I were seeing different pins. Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead.
So anyway, so you, aside from that, even if you don't cheat, I still want to beat you to some level that feels like unnatural. And because of that, I don't even want to be on the opposite team as you, because it at this point it will ruin my night. And I can't stand that I'm like that.
Yeah, we would ruin people's lives. We'd ruin their lives. I'm sure if I went down there and like to the Bronx and stuff like that, like there's people probably still want to kill me, for sure. My God, my soul is dead. It's ringing in my head, disregarding what you said. I fall further down instead. My God, my soul is dead. This is a guy. See, here's the thing. Nobody really truly loses every day all the time, but you can go through stretches where you're taking consecutive losses to where you get kind of sucked into this vortex, and when you look up, it's dark. You look down, it's dark. You look left and right, everything is dark. Mm-hmm. And so, like, you can get in a situation where you're no longer functioning in complete rationality. You know, people are like, oh, life is only about losing. Oh, this guy, he's wrong. Yeah, okay, like, again, we're talking about words for the wind here. Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't mean literally everything's a loss. But now he's at a point where he's going through a bad, let's say, 4-month stretch.
Yeah.
Where shit is fucked up for a very long time. And now he's just coming to this conclusion like, my God, my soul is dead. One of the things that's really interesting to me, and I would love to find the origin of this phrase, the "oh my God" phrase in the Western world, and it's not limited to the Western world, because if you go to the Middle Eastern world, you hear "yallah," which "yallah" literally means "oh my God," right? "Ya" means "oh," like "Ya Rasulullah."
Jesus himself said it.
Ya Rasulullah, right? So "ya" means "oh," and then Allah obviously means God. So "yallah," they'll say, "Oh God," "Ya Allah." So, like, I wonder. Okay, it's a throwaway phrase. Well, people say it without thinking, like the term "motherfucker." Like, if you really sit and think about what the term "motherfucker" means, it's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like,
Gross.
the first time I'm probably not going to tell you on. I'm not going to tell you on. Ask me about it later. I might tell you. But like the term "my God" or "oh my God," it's really interesting because I'm like, okay, do we know what we're saying when we say it? And at some subliminal level, no matter what we claim we believe or disbelieve, at some deep level, are we still crying out to that God that we? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because he's saying his soul is dead, and at this point, if you have that recognition that your soul is dead, and obviously as a Christian, we say everybody's dead. You're born dead, right? Like, if a person really kind of hits that wall where this used to work, it doesn't anymore. This used to work, it doesn't anymore. This used to give meaning, it's empty now. This used to give, pleasure, it's dull now. This used to give happiness, it's gray now. This used to add color, it's all destroyed. Like, I think you just hit, people call it rock bottom, whatever, I call it like, I always have this thing in my head of like, the walls just keep closing in on this person. Yeah. It's like, oh, you had this drug, and so like the drug could get you out. But now like the drug gets taken away because your neurons, everything's all fried to where you've absorbed all that. Now you need to take copious amounts of this thing in order to get you out of the thing. And you're not going to do that. So, because you're not going to turn into a crackhead or a heroin person, or you're not going to do one of these meth makeovers. You're not going to do that. So, boom, that's taken away. You go, okay, I'm going to go to this computer here. This will do it. And then you're on the computer thing, and then that escapes you. But again, your neurons get fried, and now you need more and more. And you're going to draw the line. You say, what am I going to do? I'm not going to look at this. Like some of this shit is too cry. So that's gone. And then you just go through the line of a relationship. Relationship will do it. The relationship will do it. That's what's gonna make it happen. And then the relationship is two very selfish people trying to get along and pretend that they're not incredibly selfish. Okay, that's not going to work. Or the person fails you, or you find out something, or there's a horrible text message. I was watching one of these reels, and this football player was talking about how he was going through, he had to do rehab or something. So he's home longer than normal. And the phone went off, and his girl was acting all strange and shit. So he's like, let me look through this fucking... And he finds, they're in California, he finds a Philly number. And the guy's originally from Philly. Turns out that his girlfriend was with Meek Mill. And he was still talking to her afterward, because a lot of these guys, a lot of these high-powered dudes, like, they have to have that one girl. Like, we've talked a lot about your perceptions about men and all the rest of it, but a lot of really high-powered, successful men, they have a very, very hard time not having that girl next to them. So even though she did all that shit, he was still trying to, but she just, and he wasn't mad at Meek, and nor should he be, but it was just, so my point is, like,
nor should he be?
Nah, yeah, that's just, Meek had no relationship to him. Meek had no commitment to him. It's not like they were friends. I mean, he's a rapper. He's a football player. Like, they have no relationship whatsoever. So, so there's no reason to be mad at Meek. I mean, but my point is, all that shit's gonna go out the window. You're just gonna focus on that.
Annoyed with or upset with the person because, like, they obviously knew that she was in a relationship with somebody.
Yeah, but Meek has no obligation to him. She's the one in the relationship with him. She's the one that's committed to him. So, but the point is, you just run out of all these things that are going to get you out of that pit, and then you get stuck. And then what? What do? That's usually when people, either cry out to God or they kill themselves. And it's like, he's saying, my God, my soul is dead. And, however people want to, it's really, I was listening to Sam Harris, and Sam Harris is really big on this meditation stuff now and having spiritual experience. He's even created a category for atheist spirituality, which to me is just like a desperate attempt for him to connect with his creator without saying so. That's what it looks like to me. Yeah. And I think a lot of other atheists who are criticizing him are suspecting the same thing. It's one of those things, like Dorian's doing, Orion does this thing, we can't see him, and all the other, like, we know what you're doing, bitch. So, like, I don't care, because Sam Harris has made his entire career about, dishonoring God and acting like God doesn't exist. So he's not going to come out and say, I need that. But he clearly needs something transcendent in his life. Yeah. If he's just nothing but a collocation of Starduck's chants and water, then his meditation and spirituality is fucking ridiculous. But he obviously knows that he needs something more. So I think some of the problems, one of the things I think is going to happen in the next generation, which I'm really excited about, I don't know if I'm going to be able to see it or not, is I think people are going to move beyond. I think we're going to evolve to the point where we realize, a lot of our problems come with the labels we attach to shit.
Okay.
So he's trying to connect with the divine in meditation, and I believe that Sam Harris is connecting with God when he's meditating.
Okay.
But because he's labeled himself an atheist, and he's come out and has labeled God as a category, now he can't say, I'm connecting with God. Because all these labels that he's attached to himself and to God are now connected to his ego.
Right.
And so now he can't come out and say that. And I don't even think he can say it to himself, because his atheism is now directly correlated to his ego.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think what we're going to figure out is, hey, maybe let's try to like disassemble all these labels, and let's just talk about our experiences, which is very kind of shaky for some Christians, because, well, don't you believe in verbal plenary inspiration? How does the Bible fit into that? How does absolute truth fit into that? And I think those are valid questions. I just think that I have found when I'm talking to genuine seekers of God or whatever, I have found that I've had to redefine so many terms to them because of these fucking labels.
Yeah.
That the vast majority of the conversation is deconstruction instead of positive building. And I just think that, eventually we're going to be able to move past that and say, okay, Sam, what are you actually experiencing here? And then he would be able to be free to do that, and that some of his friends wouldn't be so intimidated by his drifting into woo-woo, as one of them said.
Yeah. I think that could be said about really anybody, even people that are religious. Like, we know a lot of Christians that don't even say that you went into the forest and got some inspiration. You know what I mean? Like, don't get too close to the
don't get too close to nature
too much.
Because the pagans.
Because of the pagans. Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? So
because we can't learn from them at all.
That can be like that in so many different realms, where people, because an action has a certain stereotype or name put to it, people will avoid it like the plague, even though it could be something that's very helpful. In Christendom, I'm not talking about all of Christendom, I don't know all of it. I'm just saying, in my experiences, the people that I've been around, there was always discussions about who people should not see a psychotherapist, a psychologist, a counselor. All that was out. All the different groups that I've ever been a part of were all very much on board with that, except for the last group. They didn't subscribe to that.
Which group?
The one at that downtown one. They didn't say
what?
Don't see counselors, or don't, they didn't say that.
Well, yeah.
But the other ones they did, and they would say, God is your counselor and you don't need anybody else, blah blah blah.
What is it now? I'm vaccinated by the blood of Christ now, is that?
Oh, yeah. I've been vaccinated by the blood of Jesus.
That's so fucking blasphemous, bro.
I know, because it completely
so
disregards
terrible.
what the scripture said in the first place about stuff like that. But whatever. So I think that, there's so many things that we miss out on because we have a certain category about it. I think you're right. And I think that when he said, my God, my soul is dead, I think sometimes people say my soul is dead, not because I understand the theological point that you're coming from, to say that we are all dead and Christ is the one that makes us alive. But then I think that there's like sort of a practical sense in which you just feel so bad. And in here, he says, my God, my soul is dead. To me, that sounded like a sort of desperate sort of cry that someone who is dead would not cry. Like,
That's
I
true.
think the fact that they're saying, like, my God, like, this is, my soul is dead, is because, and he says it's ringing in my head. Like, I think that God puts people at a point where there's like the crossroads. Like, a decision has to get made here. You can either continue on full strength ahead in the lifestyle that you are doing and the decisions that you've been making and the way that you've been feeding your body, soul, your spirit. And you can either say, this is working for me, or you can say, holy shit, this is not working. And I need to try something else, and it needs to be drastically different because my soul keeps dying by the day, by the moment even, and even by the second I can feel that death just like taking over. And so there's that sort of cry, my God, like, but then he says, disregarding what you said, fall farther down instead. So it seems to me this person was given some words of wisdom that he wouldn't take. And because he wouldn't take those words of wisdom, he just disregarded them. He ended up falling farther down, which is more death to the soul.
Which is interesting because he starts off blaming the people above him.
Mm-hmm.
Someone should have told me when I was younger. But then he says, well, actually, I was disregarding what you said.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, to me, it's that's a very self-aware song because he starts out blaming whoever for not giving him the guidance.
Mm-hmm.
But then as he goes on, he's like, no, I've been disregarding it. Now my hands move slower and slower in pain. And my mind's going over and over. His hands are moving slower because
he's older now. And that's what gave him the wisdom, I think, to say,
if you look at verse 2, I hold my hands out only hoping for what I truly deserve.
Mm-hmm.
I draw back nothing, only a promise. I don't know what that's worth. So when his hands are moving slower, that means as he's aged, he's less likely to hold out hope because hope deferred makes the heart sick. Mm-hmm. So he's losing hope as things go along. And I would just say, well, losing hope isn't necessarily a bad thing all the time. Because, look, if I go to a mechanic and the mechanic constantly has misses over and over and over again, and I say, okay, we got to get the car tuned up, whatever, where are we going? And you go, oh, we're going to Joe Schmo. And I'm like, yeah, but the guy's failed this like 9 times in a row. And you go, yeah, but hopefully this time he'll make it work. Right? It's a good thing to give up hope in that mechanic.
Right, yeah.
You don't give up hope in the discipline of mechanicery.
Right.
Whatever the proper conjugation is. You don't give up hope in the discipline of mechanicery, but you do give up hope in that guy. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, we've been taught, you know, I said this in another review. We're taught over and over again, believe in yourself, believe in yourself. You can do anything. No, you can't. No, you can't. Some of you are addicted to substances. You cannot overcome it yourself. Mm-hmm. Some of you are in abusive relationships. You cannot overcome that evil motherfucker yourself. So a lot of times I'm glad, I will gladly, and, you know, I've accomplished some pretty, when this is all over, if people saw my resume, they'd say, holy shit. Because it's been 1%, 1%, 1%, 1%. Mm-hmm. But I have zero confidence in myself to do anything significant for myself or the people around me. That's just, I don't. I have zero hope or faith in myself at all. I got a lot of faith in Christ. I got a lot of faith in God. I've seen God come through a million times, but I have very little, if any, hope or faith in myself at all. But that's completely counterintuitive to the narrative that we've all been taught in cartoons and shit. Mm-hmm. That you can do anything and you can be anything you want to be. No, you can't. There are very few things you can do. I mean, I can do a couple push-ups. I feel confident in that. But there are very little. There are very few things of significant consequence that I can do by myself without Christ. I just can't. Mm-hmm. That makes you a weak person. What if we're all weak, but some of us are just delusional? It's a serious question. All right, what do you get the song?
9.8.
I really like this song, but I really like that Motley Crue song. I like this song because it is like, was it new metal? Was it
Thanks,
this?
Holly.
The music was kind of like, hey, Hollyhawks in the house. The music was kind of chaotic. There was a lot of layers in the background. I love the vocals, but I really like that Motley Crue song. I'm torn, damn it.
I mean, you don't have to compare them to each other.
9. All right, it's a 9.899. There you go.
There you have it.
10.5 for 7. We've got more songs coming up, dear listener. If you're a square and you're out there in regular YouTube land, there's nothing that can be done for you. Give up hope in yourself.
Skid
But if
Row
you're-
the Threat is next.
If you're cool and you're part of the gang, then we're going to be right here. Vin out.
Sorry out.
Gone.